540-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. At the 40, Derek Brooks 30, Brooks to the 29, 20, Derek Brooks all the way. Touchdown Tampa Bay, Derek Brooks, the dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Another Watson is wearing a green jacket, and this time his name is Bubba.
Pitch on the way. Russell drives one in the air. Deep left center. That's back near the wall. It's got a chance. Grand slam. Grand slam, Addison Russell.
The new WNBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
And Richardson breaks free on the sideline. End zone. How about that? Bama scores on a 34-yard touchdown run by the Doak Walker Award winner, Trick Richardson, who broke a lot of Emmett Smith's records back in Pensacola, Florida.
And these them Louisiana, Pensacola guys, they looking crazy and all that.
Morris, blocked by the tight end call. That opens up the door. Breaking the Kendricks tackle. To the pylon. Touchdown.
What a nice effort there by Alfred Morris, extending that ball over the goal line.
Near side ball is that big game. Doug Baldwin's got a first down. Doug Baldwin, 93 yards, now has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Reggie Evans, and he's going to get an ovation. Guy from Pensacola, Florida.
And welcome to the Sports Drive right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5 and on Blab TV. I am Chad Berliante alongside Jordan Glass. What a beautiful Friday. You know, I'm going to start the show by making this clear. As you get older and you start going to bed at 9:30 and waking up and watching Paw Patrol or Winnie the Pooh, yeah, that's me, with my daughter, you realize quality of life. You want to get home after your show at 7 to see them. I hope you realize that at any time. For the lady who I'm not going to call lady, about the 15-year-old girl who was taking a selfie on the causeway the other day while she was driving. Listen to some old, I will give her credit. I think it was like Jay-Z, and I think that's old school for kids if it's Post Malone, past Post Malone, literally. But yeah, we were sitting there and she was DMXing and Jay-Z in it. But fully out the window, and she was driving the car. It wasn't like puppy dog in the background driving the car, and when you're like, that dog's going to jump, and it never does. Beautiful golden retriever. But, taking selfies, doing shots, wasn't like this. If you're out there on the road today, and you were the 15...
I got to go back. She was taking selfies and doing shots, or taking selfies?
Shots of the phone.
Shots of the phone. Okay, I was about to say, wow, that's really reckless.
Well, I would have been more impressed if she could do that. But here's the deal, though. If you were on 110 on the way here, and about 30 minutes ago, driving, I wish I would have got some videos to have you lose your license. Because if it is pouring down rain and there are puddles, you don't need to be swerving like George Jones going 80. There is no reason when everybody else is trying to see 5 feet in front of them. And I'm not saying you have to be grandma driving the Buick in the corner going 10 with their brights on when it's just like a sun shower and they're like over there stopping traffic. But
barely see over the wheel. This is what you see when you look into the car.
But here's the deal: when you have 5 lanes, people are going to be going slow anyway. Other people are going to be obeying that it's pouring down rain and you can't see. So slow down, because you're a bunch of morons and idiots. And you know what? If you'd like to call the show, because that was that might have been me. Well, call, because obviously you'd rather. You probably crack it open a cold one. You can put your cell phone up to your ear and do everything because you're already driving like a moron. Let's go ahead and get to some sports. Speaking of that, Bill Walton thrown out the first pitch yesterday. It took him twice, and did the play-by-play. Nothing like Bill Walton to stand there and keep the game rolling. They were 5 minutes late for the start, the first pitch.
Now, did it take him 2 times to throw it, or did he just forget he threw it the first time?
I think he forgot he threw
it.
It was a Grateful Dead reunion, pretty much, is why he was there to start. And,
he loves him some Grateful Dead.
Bill Walton is sort of like our Pat Dye interview. We love Pat, but there's days where we're just like, well, it's Pat Dye. It's good old Pat Dye. We love him, and that's what happens. When it comes down to Bill Walton, sometimes, like, the people out there, you could tell, Bud Black, who's a series manager for the Rockies, you could tell was like looking over and did that fake smile, like when you fake laugh at my joke, like you could tell it was a fake smile because this was a Hall of Fame, one of the best college basketball players ever at UCLA.
Oh, yeah.
And when he played for Portland and his time in the NBA, he looked like half werewolf, half vampire at his size at 7'1". But Bill Walton was one of these kind of guys that is a Hall of Fame, a legend of basketball. So you sort of give him a pass. Because anybody else doing that would be in a psychiatric ward. And I think sometimes it comes down to that path. Look at this. Is it family?
It was probably a bill collector.
Was it a bill collector?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a pass. We should have taken it.
It's about dinner
Put him on
time.
there.
Yeah.
Do you have a loan modification scam right there? I definitely messed with those people for sure. But let's get to some of the other things. Bill Walton was out there on the mound, though. I was throwing out the first pitch there at Petco, and I could see the colors. It was beautiful. The Grateful Dead. I rode my bicycle like a clown on a perch. Like you're sitting, you're like, what is happening here?
The catcher's behind the plate like, Bill, throw the ball, buddy. Throw the ball.
I really believe that San Diego, the Padres, can score more runs than the Rockies and win tonight's ball game. Last night, Mike Tyson was hanging out with Nick Saban. Did you see that? A couple champions, pound for pound right there.
I did, yeah. That was...
Who do you think's aged better?
Nick Saban.
You thought, okay.
I mean, come on, even Mike Tyson's given up. He was dressed like a grandpa. Did you see him sitting on the couch? I mean,
he still kicked the crap out of a lot of people, though.
Yeah, I'm saying this gently because I'm saying this now. He's probably can't hear me.
Who would be able to pull off the teardrop tattoo better, though?
Nick Saban. No, Mike Tyson. I think Tyson could pull that off.
Yeah, they were hanging out, and he gets a lot of people to come in and talk. But Mike Tyson's one of those guys. He's done some bad things. He now does shows on HBO where he lets pigeons off a roof. But Mike Tyson, for pound, you talk about dominating your sport. Nick Saban has dominated the coaching scene. Dabo Swinney's getting involved. You had Urban Meyer in the mix. Then he came back. I'm back. You had guys back and forth. But it's been Nick Saban over the last decade that has held a stronghold on that position consistently.
Yeah.
He's always there. Whether he's winning or losing, it's you beat them to get there. Mm-hmm. During a 10-year span, there was only one time since I believe it was 2008, once since 2008, were the Alabama Crimson Tide an underdog in a football game. And that the only reason it was the last year's game against Clemson, and the line moved before kickoff. It started and opened as Alabama favored. So they haven't been an underdog in any game in 10 years.
So that wouldn't have been the game I picked since we were going from 2008. I would have said the 2008 SEC Championship game where Florida was number 1. Alabama
you would
was
say
number
that,
2.
wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, Alabama ended up winning that, what was the final score of that one? 31-15 or something like that. So Alabama ended up winning it. But that's where I would have gone because that was really that was the turning point. Alabama then goes on to play Texas in the national title game, and that's when they really become that dominant dynasty that we've seen the last decade.
It was actually NCAA football 2017 with my fake rosters. UCF was a 3-point favorite, I believe, on the billboard that I saw.
All right, yeah.
I've got a calendar and a newsletter from Pegasus that shows. But I mean, there's pretty much not too many people that can probably scare the bejesus out of you and also stand up there and say, look, to be a champion, how good you have to be. Because regardless of everything else, and we like to judge our players, our coaches, as like if they were our neighbor in King of the Hill, grabbing a brew with us, standing there going, yep, watching cars go by.
Dang old man. We ran a halfback dive, and dang old man, we should have ran play action.
I think like a lot of us think that like our players and coaches are like King of the Hill friends, where everybody stands to the road and grabs an ice cold and just has the cooler right there, Yeti cooler waiting for us. That's not how these people don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about you. If anything, a lot of times they're scared from you. I mean, they'll meet regular everyday people and shake your hand. A lot of them are nice people. It's just listening to Tim Brando on the way in here. Tim Brando, I've met a couple times. Really nice guy. He gets some backlash for some of the comments he makes, but Tim's a very nice guy from the South, right there in Louisiana. But the difference is if you're going to be a crazy fan, they don't want anything to do with that.
Right.
Go to media days and see some of those people that are waiting for Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not heading over to their house. He's not going to Deborah and Walt's house for a barbecue, even though they don't have a barbecue.
Don't if Nick Saban is out at dinner with his wife, don't approach them and go, "Hey Nick, hey Miss Terry, it's Coach Saban, Miss Saban." Don't act like you know him.
No, that's why there's
weird.
very few meals for him at Whataburger because of that. I mean, I'm sure he would like that, but that's the reason.
Chick-fil-A, they're just a little too nice.
I could go for Whataburger, right? But Mike Tyson's one of those kind of guys that regardless of what you think of him as a human being, pound for pound, and we have one in Roy Jones Jr. right from Pensacola. But pound for pound, he was the most dominant boxer. You can go with the career of Muhammad Ali. There's been Frazier, there's been the Larry Holmes and the George Foremans of the world, and all throughout Lennox Lewis's, all throughout the years, there's been great boxers. Rocky Marciano back in the day. The difference is there has never been a guy more dangerous in the ring. Maybe because he could rip your ear off literally with his teeth. Yeah. But there has never been a boxer more dominant than Mike Tyson at one point. Just more dominant and freak of nature. That's what made Buster Douglas so incredible, what he did. His own punch-out game where you couldn't press pause. You had to watch him bicycle all the way to the Statue of Liberty. You can never stay.
The crazy thing about all this with Mike Tyson is as deadly and as dangerous as he is inside the ring, you hear from several different people who know him and talk to him outside of the ring. Now, obviously, there are some catchphrases and some things that if you say to him, it's going to flip a switch and he's not going to be Mr. Nice Guy anymore. But if it's just normal Mike Tyson, the guy's a big teddy bear. I mean, he's just sweet to everybody he meets. He's very nice unless you do hit those couple of, obviously bringing up the criminal stuff from his past is an easy way to flip that switch, and some other things. But, yeah, I get to interview Evander Holyfield last year. And even everything that he and Mike Tyson went through with their tough fights and the biting of the ear and everything like that, I asked Evander, I was like, what's he like outside of the ring? He's one of the nicest guys you will ever meet.
And he responded, what? What?
No,
huh?
It was his good ear.
Okay, all right. Just make sure. Take my strong hand. But Mike Tyson being there at Alabama, it's pretty cool.
It is, yeah. And it's nice to see, and you got to think that he probably spoke to the football team, before they went into Saban's office. So it's nice to see, and this is something we're starting to see college teams do around the country. They bring in these people that are the epitome of a champion, and Mike Tyson fits that mold.
Looking at some NFL games, some of the young quarterbacks looking good. Daniel Jones, look, we're not going to get a full read on one drive, but look, he scored already more touchdowns in the first 6 weeks of Eli Manning last week, right? But no, he looked good. Kyler Murray was scrambling. Kyler Murray, if he gains confidence in this league under Cliff Kingsbury's system, he's going to do some damage. The difference is it gets to the point where the great ones can score, but they also need to know how to do time management. Yeah. Because, look, Kyler Murray is in the NFC. Kyler Murray is going to be able to make plays. But here's the deal. One of those scrambles, he's going to meet a big nasty in the middle, that's 6'5", 250 playing linebacker, and get scolded, and his career is going to end up being RG3. Or remember, Lamar Jackson started 5-1 as a starter last year, took Baltimore to the playoffs, but then they started to figure him out. And when you did, -6 yards passing going into the fourth quarter at home against the Chargers. That's the thing is, and that there are going to be moments where Kyler Murray, and if he can be consistent, then they've got a shot. But I just don't see that, and you're not going to outduel Drew Brees. You're not going to outduel some of these guys. So you're going to have to start figuring things out. Like when Matt Ryan became a great quarterback a couple years back, he's always been good. But when he was elite and the MVP caliber Matt Ryan, that had one of the best Super Bowls for 3 quarters, you'll see. But Matt Ryan was one of those guys that if you look at the games when they played against Cam Newton and against Drew Brees, that they had to do a total of 4 times, they would win the time of possession battle. They would milk the clock. They would give a bunch of rushes to Freeman and Coleman. And they didn't want to get those other guys on the field. So it's not always about how good you're playing. It's about making sure that the other elite teams, and we know them, the New England Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs, teams like the Bears and the Vikings and the Packers back in the day and maybe this year, and teams like the Cowboys with the great roster, and the Steelers over the years, the Seahawks, teams out there that we've seen go out there, like obviously in what we saw last year, the Rams, Saints, goes on and on. You're not going to always beat them offensively.
Yeah.
You just got to beat them time of possession and limit the turnovers. And I'm not ready to say Kyler Murray's ready to be that guy after one preseason in looking good in a drive.
No, I agree with you on that. I think if you look at his numbers from last night, 6 of 7 for 44 yards, only did one drive in the game, very similar to what Daniel Jones did. But I think for Kyler Murray, there was one play that everybody was kind of talking about. It was he did a rollout and he made 2 defensive linemen miss on that, and everybody's like, oh, he made 2 defensive linemen miss in the NFL. See, he can do it. Well, first and foremost, it's preseason. So even if those are the first-string defensive linemen, they're not exactly putting maximum effort like they would in a regular season game. And then if it's not the starting defensive line, it's going to be a second or third string guy that's probably not going to make the roster. So, let's kind of temper that. And as far as Daniel Jones, again, let's temper our expectations on this. It was 5 for 5, 67 yards, 1 touchdown against the Jets. And it was probably against the second or third string of the Jets. So let's temper that. Dwayne Haskins, I think, is the actual only one that looked like a rookie. He was 8 of 14, did throw for 117 yards, but also threw for 2 interceptions. Did not set his feet on either one of those interceptions and just floated them and ended up throwing picks that, if he sets his feet and actually makes – one was in triple coverage, so that was an ill-advised throw, but the other one just did not set his feet. And if he sets his feet, probably actually completes that. So Dwayne Haskins looked like a rookie, but I think Dwayne Haskins was the one that actually made the rookie mistakes that you can build on. I think the fact that Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones did not make mistakes, that might be a problem for them down the road because it doesn't help them build.
Yeah, and in preseason, look, what we need to take from preseason in general is, to me, it's like the product of what you see on social media with a girl maybe you've never met but you might date, one of those dating sites. Like, you obviously are intrigued to start with. You're excited. Mm-hmm. We were all excited. Yesterday was Thursday and there was football. You already see a product that you know and you've already visually liked. But then you show up, and it's not a completely different person. It's not like some 70-year-old grandma going, no catfish show, like, would you like a dance? Like, hey, it's Olga. None of this.
I heard this joke one time. He goes, I got catfished online by a 54-year-old gym teacher. She told me she was a 54-year-old history teacher.
Ah, there you go. It just ruined it for him. Would you like a dance? One more cigarette smoke? Like, none of that. But you go there and you realize, you start looking and you go, that's something fishy here.
Yeah.
This girl doesn't look exactly like that Victoria's Secret body size. We're working with maybe 30 more lbs. It's still pretty, beautiful. I'm happy. But you're just getting a product that you're happy and satisfied that you're on a date. You're still like, okay, you know what? We're here. We're having some wine. Why not? But you're not fully invested like you were that picture. And I think that's in a creepy, like a way where it's like you didn't have to break it down like that.
You
embarrass a bunch of ladies on social media.
You just open up the app and look at the picture instead of her.
Anybody that's ever been on a phone knows that that's true. Like this hourglass body shape. Brittany, being married, they teach you those. There are like other ladies that if they do that in a picture with other females, they're like, look for the other signals because like the other ladies become Popeye and things with their arms. Mm-hmm. Like you'll see the girl that really is skinny and all of a sudden their neck looks like Brock Lesnar. And you just got to be careful that I'm not searching through hunting. I don't have time for that. I fall asleep when I get home. But that's what the NFL is. It's still a product that is good, but it's not the product that you expected when you watch the preseason.
It's like taking a selfie. Whenever you take a selfie, you got to hold the camera up here so you don't get the double chin. Preseason is holding it down here. Yeah.
I'm watching the Baltimore Jaguar game last night, and I'm like, gosh, it was 29-0. You didn't know half these people. Gardner Minshew, who wasn't even got rocked. Yes, Kenny Young. By the way, Kenny Young now is second on the all-time Baltimore Ravens list for murders. You can turn your mic on to laugh for that one if you want. That was a genuine laugh.
I was taking a drink of water, and that almost got messy.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying. He's one behind Ray Lewis right now, so he's right there. He's in the hunt now. But Kenny Young just went out there and crushed Gardner Minshew.
He did.
Just crushed him. in a game that was already down 29. So that was like when the other team, your own team, was like, oh, shoot, because
it's bad when you need a medical trainer and a equipment manager because you're in pain and then your helmet is just in 3 different places. And that's exactly what happened.
And it's Gardner Minshew. Look, he had some good games for Mike Leach out in Washington State in the Palouse, but here's the deal with that. Like, nobody in Jacksonville is worried. If that was Nick Foles, it'd have been like a couple brumbles, uh-oh.
That's a flag, yeah.
Well, not only flag, you're like, come on, man, we just paid this guy, come on. No more Blake Bortles. We're not popping Bortles anymore. Like, we got this. And then Gardner Minshew, you're like,
welcome to the league, rookie.
Just quicker to get him cut. That's Kenny Young blew him up, though. And then it reminded you, okay, that's still not the AAF product that we got in those games. This is awesome. And that was a pretty solid hit. Huge changes to the Auburn logo. We're going to talk about that.
Spoiler alert, it got fat. I mean, that's essentially what happened.
It reminded me of those games that I had a couple cocktails in college and you play the video games, the video gaming boards where you have to find the things and you're just staring there and you're with like 5 other people that put the dollar in and they're like, come on, dude, help us. There's a time limit. And you're just like, I just see the same picture.
Yeah, sure.
I'm looking at the palm tree and the duck. That's what I was looking at in those video games, obviously. If you know those, obviously family friendly. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more about what's going on with the Antonio Brown and why, even though he is being pretty ridiculous and maybe needs to change his pads to maxi pads, overall, he's the kind of guy that is not 100% in the fault. We'll tell you more when we return right here in the Sports Drive.
Sports is live and local every Saturday from 11 to 1.
You hear Nick Saban say, well, we need to get back to the Alabama standard. You went 13-1, 14-1 last year. You lost in the national title game to a guy who's probably going to be the next it quarterback inside the NFL.
Sports Call with Jordan Glass and Davis Allen on your radio, on Facebook, and YouTube.
Year 1 with Dan Mullen, we saw a lot of growth out of him because they also expanded him.
At ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Pensacola Beach isn't just a sun-soaked white sand paradise. It's also the best dance floor in 50 states. Every Tuesday night, the stage near the Beach Ball comes alive with great music you know and love. Bands on the Beach are free shows every Tuesday through October, and they're brought to you by the Santa Rosa Island Authority. This Tuesday, it's 5 amazing musicians. They're called the Slight Return Band. They have a trio of different frontmen, and they're going to play everything from your favorite rock, your favorite dance, and your favorite rhythm and blues. Join us for live music every Tuesday night at 7 for Bands on the Beach.
Paul Feinbaum here for the Southeast leader for cranes and equipment rental, CraneWorks. The CraneWorks team in Nashville, Birmingham, and Mobile is ready to make your next construction or maintenance project a big success. Give CraneWorks a call for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project. And don't forget, RentalWorks has a full line of rental equipment for jobs both big and small, and now offering qualified operators for all equipment, including aerial and earth-moving equipment. Call CraneWorks at 877-282-LIFT or visit them on the web at craneworks.com.
Hi, it's Flint Lockwood here in Swallow Falls. My friends and I have just discovered some amazing living foodimals, but we've also discovered an urgent matter that needs our help. According to my calculations, 1 in 5 kids in America struggles with hunger. Our latest mission is to help solve hunger by teaming up with the Feeding America Network to get food to kids facing hunger in communities across the country.
Help Flint and the Feeding America network of food banks get food to the people who need it in your community. Find your local Feeding America food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
Together, we're Feeding America.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And welcome back. Sports Drive with you right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5 and on Blab TV. Be safe on the roadways as the monsoon was coming down earlier. If you're out there on a paddle boat to try to get back to work or a canoe, just be safe. I know it's clearing up. Hopefully get some clear skies. Got some concerts going on the beach, but just be safe on the roadways. No rush. It's Friday. Everybody wants to get home. That's all I'm going to say. Joining us now from somewhere I hope is a little nicer in the weather department right there in the state of Ohio. Bill Bender joins us from the Sporting News, lead sports columnist. Bill, thanks for your time as always.
Hey, Chad. Good to be on with you. Thanks for having me.
Bill, first off, how was the Indians game the other night? And they're starting to get it rolling, I'm telling you. They made some pretty good trades to add a little pop in the bats.
Yeah, I think they'll make playoffs. It would just be a case of what did they do when they get there. But, yeah, it was a fun night at the park. Both kids got a baseball. Don't ask me how that happened. One got one from the bullpen. One got one that Puig threw in the outfield. So it was a fun night.
Well, that's pretty cool right there. Bill, we have a lot to talk about. I want to get to the first story right now with Antonio Brown wearing his old helmet, wanting to wear his old helmet. Now, I've said, look, he's being a diva, but at the same time, what is the biggest grief for the NFL not allowing him to do it besides puffing their chest? Because I'd come in with a quick sheet of paper like my daughter wrote in crayons and said, sign this waiver. If something happens to you with this old helmet, it's not on us, bro. Like, I don't understand why this is taking up way too much time when he needs to be on practice, wasting millions of everybody's money as Raider fans that have been waiting for something.
No, the NFL's not wrong at all, Chad. I mean, these are the rules. If they go out of their way to make him happy, then they got to do it for the next receiver and the next linebacker and the next quarterback whose helmet doesn't fit. If they're the regulations, they're the regulations. I think Antonio Brown is being a diva. And if I were, I mean, I don't want to say if I were him because I'm not him, not his position, but, I mean, the Raiders start isn't showing anything that we didn't see at the end of his Steelers career to prove that he's not a diva.
I mean, this whole thing, yeah, he needs to suck it up and play regardless when you're making that much money. And he continues to disappoint in what is, people forget. A lot of times these guys do this when their career is starting to fade and go the wrong way. But Antonio Brown, when he takes the field, is still one of the top receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, he is, but he's also, we've seen this before with Terrell Owens, where extremely talented player on the field, huge distraction off of it. No matter how, people, and I like how people tried to say he wasn't at the end. Well, he was. It was a distraction at the whole thing. So I think, we'll see how it goes, but it's something that, up here in the Ohio area, I don't think it's going to happen with OBJ, but it could. And it's one of those things you monitor. But I honestly didn't think it was going to happen this fast with the Raiders once he got his wish and got out of Pittsburgh. But over a helmet seems like a pretty trivial thing to threaten to end your career over.
You can follow Bill at BillBender92 on Twitter, joining us to talk some college football, NFL, and more as the football season is ready to go. Bill, when you look right now at the overall model of the home and home versus the neutral site games. Now, obviously, the neutral site makes a lot for usually cities that already have a lot of money and big venues, like places like Jerry Dome out there in Arlington. But when it comes down to the home and home, I'm stoked, even though they're not at this point at the same level because Alabama's been dominating. What Alabama and Wisconsin have done to set in 2020 and 21, where we're going to get to watch them jump around in Madison and then come to Tuscaloosa, I think it's exciting for so many college football fans. I'd love to see a team like Florida go to the Big House in Michigan and then Michigan go to the Swamp, or a team like LSU go to Penn State and Happy Valley and then have to go to Death Valley. This, to me, is the passion and camaraderie of what football is all about. I'd love to see it, but why are we not going to see more of these games?
I think we will see more because I think we're getting into a point where some of these schools, because they have to make the schedule so far in advance, or they do make them so far in advance, that we're going to see some more home and homes because I think eventually when we get to 8, which will happen down the road, it's going to help strengthen the schedule. And maybe you lose that game and it doesn't hurt you as much, or maybe you win it and it's a difference. And then we've seen that in the 14 era. I mean, the home and home a couple of years ago with Oklahoma, Ohio State was a classic example of the winner kind of used that game to make their case, and the loser was out because of that loss. But it's definitely something I think is going to continue over the next few years.
Bill, looking at Big Ten Media Days, and they pretty much had Michigan as a shoo-in to win the conference, and we know that Urban Meyer is gone, but is Ohio State, who's been so dominant, and really Michigan hasn't been able to do anything over the last few years, and even back to the Lloyd Carr days, to beat a team like Ohio State? We know that there's other good teams around them, but is it Michigan and everybody else this year in the Big Ten if they play to the level and caliber of their athletes?
I mean, we still picked Ohio State to win it, but I think Michigan can win the Big Ten, certainly, if they play the way they should, if they adjust to Ohio State's speed as a team, and I think they will. But we still picked Ohio State. I still think they're the most talented roster in the Big Ten. Now the unknown, and what could make me look really wrong in saying that, is you don't know how Ryan Day is going to respond to repeated big games. I mean, he had the big game against TCU last year. That was a big win for the Buckeyes. But, how do they respond to going to Nebraska, to playing Michigan State, to playing Penn State for the first time? Wisconsin comes into Ohio State. And, of course, the pressure that comes with coaching the biggest game of the year. So I think eventually Michigan will win that game. I don't know if it'll be this year. If it is, then, yeah, they've got a really good chance to win the Big Ten. But they've also got a very tough schedule before that Ohio State game. So they've got a lot to worry about before they get there.
Bill, looking at one of the things with college football is, if you lose one game, it could be over. Looking at this year in college football across the board, we know that Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia are in that elite category. And there are a number of teams like Texas, LSU, Florida's of the world, Michigan's, Ohio State's, all there, Oklahoma's that we've seen before, and they're trying to fight their way. I might have given Florida a little too much credit. But looking at the other group in there, is there one team that you see making a big jump this year into that elite category and might shock the world to have a chance to get to the college football playoff?
Well, we have Texas in. I think if they beat LSU, they'll have a really good chance to even lose a Big 12 game and then turn around and win it. I just like where they're at a little more with what they've got coming back than Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And, I think there's that chance for them to make a run to the playoff. Do I think they can win a national championship? Probably not. I mean, if they get lucky, if any one of these teams not named Clemson, Alabama gets lucky, then the semifinal matchup will be Clemson versus Alabama. Because I do think those two are pretty safe bets to get there again. So, but I think Texas is trending in the right direction. I think Ohio State has enough talent to compete for a national championship. You mentioned LSU, Michigan, Florida. They're getting there, but they're not there yet. And I don't think Notre Dame would be interesting to see how they respond after they got beat the way they did last year.
Bill, looking at the preseason, we got Saints-Vikings down here tonight, and a lot of teams, I was watching the games last night. I think people are jumping way too much to conclusions on a lot of these rookie quarterbacks. We've only got to see a little, and frankly, a lot of these guys aren't even playing their best players. I sort of put the preseason as NFL fans, which we are, as it's like that pretty girl. I mean, you grew up with her. Maybe it's a friend or it's a wife or a loved one, but they're pretty already. But then they take it to social media or the cover of a magazine, and it's photoshopped a little more. What the pretty much what you're getting is it's a fraudulent product to the great product that already is something special. I think we love the NFL, but it's not the same watching these preseason games as what we're going to see in a few weeks on Sunday.
No, but Daniel Jones was one that kind of popped to me. I was like, wow, that was a nice throw he made there. So to go 5-5 and play pretty well, it's not going to hurt his case. That's the one we're hearing about the most today. I mean, not like Dwayne Haskins throws a couple picks. It's not a big deal. I mean, but that's like you said, it's preseason. Nobody's going to remember Dwayne Haskins throwing an interception in his first preseason game. They're going to know what he did the first time he plays the Giants, and vice versa with Daniel Jones. I mean, I don't know what that means for that quarterback battle, but again, it's fun. It's fun to see football on TV. It's fun to watch Kyler Murray go out there and make a few plays, and I think those guys all have a future in this season. We'll see them on the field, but yeah, it's kind of a tease to me. I don't get too wrapped up in it, but I will sit and watch it a little bit because football's football. Absolutely.
I was watching the games last night. Kenny Young, I was watching that live when he hit Gardner Minshew, and that sort of woke everybody up to say, welcome back, the NFL is here again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you just don't want anybody to get hurt. I mean, obviously, we talked a little bit about the Antonio Brown stuff today, and those headlines. I don't get caught up in it too much. I mean, I just can't wait for him to start playing for real. And you hope. There were a couple injuries last night. I think Jermaine Kearse was one, and that's the part that I just want to get through August, whether it's college, pro. You want as few impact players as possible to get injured.
Looking at some of the games up in your neck of the woods, when you look at some of the teams where you have Cleveland, there's so much hype going on, and they really do have a great offense. But defensively, I'm not ready to say that they're top-notch. However, there has been teams that have won Super Bowls without it. Aaron Rodgers every single year is like, look what I do without any defense. When it comes down to Cleveland and the mix, Baker Mayfield, he just seems like one of those guys that it's hard to root against. Derek Jeter was one of those guys in baseball, even though I was from Boston. Sometimes you just get that player that you want to love because of everything he's making the game better for. How is it right now up there with a guy like Baker Mayfield? And do you think Cleveland can take that step to competing for a Super Bowl this year?
I think win the division this year, but the process of competing for a Super Bowl, I mean, they could be like Kansas City was last year and take that step. And but I mean, you still got to go through Pittsburgh and Baltimore and New England and Kansas City and San Diego. The AFC is pretty good. So, but I think they can, and Houston and Indy. So that it's a tough field, but I do think the enthusiasm's off the charts up here because they haven't had a winner in a long time. And they're going to have a team that's playing with some expectations, and we'll see how they handle those. Baker is handling it great, I think. I mean, he's at the point where I think people overreact to everything he does, good or, I don't even want to say bad. I don't think he's done anything bad since he's been in Cleveland. I think it's just when Cowherd overreacts to something. Like, if you want to get angry about him shotgunning the beer, that's okay. But I'm just not there on that one. That was kind of funny.
Oh, I was talking none about his football. That's why I said he's so great for the game. He plays football? I'm not
Yeah, exactly. Like he means a lot to the city, though.
Yeah,
and he's kind of become the face of Cleveland, which is a big statement, knowing that LeBron's gone now, and Francisco Lindor does a heck of a job for the baseball team, and everybody loves Francisco, including my kid. But Baker's the face of that city right now, and I think it shows.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing at what he does. Yesterday down here in the South, this is SEC country, and you had one guy with a teardrop tattoo and another coach that has brought many tears to teams around the SEC with Nick Saban and Mike Tyson hanging out. But I want to ask you, Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who, as a champion in their prime, was better at their job?
Oh, Mike Tyson's the best. When he was in his prime, I don't know if that was a better boxer ever. I mean, he just knocked people out so quick and was a phenomenon. And obviously, Buster Douglas from nearby Columbus up here knocked him out and changed the trajectory of his career. I think Saban's been better over time, though. Just his consistency, his ability to, I guess you could use the boxing analogy, every time they get beat, they get up. And then they get up and then they knock the next year out. And that's what a lot of people better be wary of this year after what happened against the Clemson. If you don't think Alabama's going to come back, play with a vengeance, and be right back in the national championship hunt, I mean, then you haven't learned from the past.
I could lose dinner for my LSU wife for thinking of this on the spot, but I guess you can say they both own Tigers.
Yeah, I guess that's. I saw somebody tweet something to that effect. That's pretty good.
That's not bad. I didn't see that tweet, but I have stolen things in the past, but not that one.
That's pretty good. Right off the cuff, too. Not bad.
Look, I'll be here all night, folks. But, hey, Bill, I really will. It's raining too hard outside. But, Bill, I appreciate everything you do out there. Any big articles coming up here for the football season that we can share with all of our fans?
Oh, we had a good piece about Mac Brown this week and what he means to North Carolina and how he thinks he'll bring the talent back there, and I think he will. And then we'll have plenty of preview content. Hopefully you and I can catch up a few times during the season. And, as always, it's a joy to be on your show. Thanks so much.
We'll enjoy it. Thanks, Bill, and have a great time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks,
Appreciate it. Bill Bender, one of the best right there, lead sports writer and college football national writer for the Sporting News, and really does a great job. He's been covering football for a long time, and always is in like the coolest games. I'm sitting there on Saturday, and I'll see his tweet or he'll text me, and he's at like Michigan, Ohio State on the sidelines, and I'm like, okay, we can do that, but I get to the point where it's hard. We do have
that's a little bit of a drive, though. For him, that's probably like going to Gainesville, right?
It's true. Yeah, I mean that's no accident. Well, he lives in Cleveland, so
okay.
I think for Columbus isn't too far. I'm not going to map. I think it's only a couple hours away, 3 hours or so. I'm completely ballparking this in Ohio, but it's not too far. That leaves me wiggle
like
room right
to the
there.
Senior Bowl.
That's a completely one of those vague answers that leaves me wiggle room. Like, it's not too far, and then somebody's like, "Dude, it's 4.5 hours." But like, that's what I meant.
That's not bad.
It's a block.
Drive 95, you'll be there in no time.
He was at the Indians game with his family the other night. We were going to have him on Wednesday's show, but Bill is he's a great guy. He's a big Green Bay Packer fan, though. It's tough to be a Packer fan right now. I think it's tougher on fan bases that know that they have an elite player at a position that can change the dynamic of a game, and they're not getting the full support they deserve. That's harder. Like, when you flat out stink, it's okay. Like, when your team is terrible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you're just like, all right, it's another one of those seasons. But it's harder. It's like, to me, all those LSU teams that they were so close to having the roster Alabama did all those years. They had all the elite players. They were sending more guys to the NFL, Honey Badgers, and everywhere you looked, Mingos, and guys like Devin Whites over the years. I mean, their roster, they're loaded of players, Fournettes, but then they always had, at one point you had Beckham and Landry at receiver, which is the best receiving core in the NFL for the Browns this year. But you had quarterbacks that were good but not great. The Mettenbergers, the Flynns. They were always Russells. They were solid, but they never took the team to the next level, or the offensive coordinating with Les Miles and clock management was always good for a couple losses. Like, it upset them because they could have had a couple more national titles. They could have won a couple more games. They could have been 11-1 so many times. They had the roster to do it, but they would always fail in a couple games where they couldn't take back. And that's why, for Green Bay, they have Aaron Rodgers, but they also had defense and running games that would be 32nd in the league if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers trying to carry them. And it got to the point where Aaron Rodgers would go 7-9, 8-8. And I think this year they're expected to be a little better. But when you have somebody for such a limited amount of time, which the football years are, you might only have these guys for 6, 7. For Rodgers, he might only be there a couple more years with injuries and the things he's gone through. Who knows? But when the time is, that hourglass is starting to fade, when you have a shot, when there's other teams that wake up, Jets, Dolphins, Cardinals next year, they're not worried. Other teams, they feel like they have a shot. Like with Saints fans, the time is running out, literally, on Drew Brees' career, now at 40, and getting it robbed by the NFL and having Stephon Diggs do what he did. It angers you so much more because you need to take those as much as possible. As a Patriot fan, we take the opposite approach. I'm like, crap, we got another Super Bowl. We probably shouldn't have, but that's another ring. There's 6. Ding. Like, sometimes you got to take and embrace when you got the shot. And for Packer fans, they feel like they should win a Super Bowl, but they haven't had the support. Maybe Matt LaFleur is the answer. Good old Frenchie. Coming back for more right here on the Sports Drive.
Introducing the next generation of SiriusXM with all new features, exclusively on the SiriusXM app and online. Enjoy over 100 ad-free extra channels filled with music for any mood. Create your own ad-free music stations with personalized stations powered by Pandora. Watch video of your favorite shows and performances, and listen in more places than ever because listening outside the car is now included in even more packages. Visit SiriusXM.com/connect to start listening today.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there.
We are broadcasters, your home for Pensacola sports, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Every home run. There's a swing and a drive out to left. Pache at the track, at the wall. It is gone! Every strikeout. Here comes the pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike three. Whether they're home or away, every minute of every Blue Wahoos game. And the ball game is over with one of the greatest comebacks in the history of this Wahoos franchise. This is the home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy sex, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take one capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Rush to Walmart and get Ageless Male Tonight.
Now there's more fun for everyone at IP. The beautiful Bayview Cafe is here, open 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can dine anytime and meet up with friends for wine tasting at 850 Wine and Spirits. Plus, if you love sports, IP Sportsbook is where the action is, and now taking wagers. Better up.
IP Casino Resort and Spa is fun for everyone.
Valvoline is the only motor oil brand with a dedicated engine lab. And here, we test everything. We test seal conditioners to keep older engines from leaking. We test detergents to help reduce soot. We test additives that protect against wear, increase fuel economy, and fight carbon buildup. Why? Because we won't settle for being less than the best, and you shouldn't either. Valvoline, trusted for 150 years. Now at Advanced Auto Parts, buy Valvoline full synthetic high mileage with Max Life technology and a filter for only $33.99. See store for restrictions and details.
If you're hitting 200 at the plate for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, life isn't that great. But if you're hitting up 200 before the Wahoos games, things can't get much better. 200 South is your Blue Wahoos pre-party destination. Grab an ice-cold draft with the best selection in town at World of Beer. Relax in the most hoppin' spot at Blend Lounge. Or grab a quick bite to eat at Graffiti Pizza or Taco Aguave before the game. 200 South Palafox in downtown Pensacola. Peanuts and Cracker Jacks are all right, but a slice and an ice-cold draft? Now that's a home run.
Hey, this is Bomani on the latest episode of The Right Time. We're talking about Ezekiel Elliott's holdout, Jeremy Lin, what he's going through, and the latest installment of The Right Time Book Club with Lane O'Neal of The Undefeated. Be sure to check us out wherever you get your podcast.
What's up, Scott Van Pelt here, episode 2, SVP and Russillo. We make some lists, which, as you know, I'm not good at. Tons of NBA content. Russillo invented a game. It's called Line Movers. SVP and Russillo podcast. Find it on the ESPN app and Apple Podcast.
Here's Tony Romo for Skechers Slip-On Footwear.
Now that I've hung up the cleats, I like to wear a more comfortable shoe. In fact, I like to wear the most comfortable shoe. Skechers Slip-Ons. Skechers Slip-Ons are simply the best. For one thing, there's no laces, so they just slip right on. Then there's the Skechers Air-Cooled Memory Foam. It cradles your feet and provides unbelievable comfort that lasts all day long. Skechers Slip-Ons are the most comfortable, easy-to-wear shoes I've ever worn.
Try Skechers Slip-Ons with Air-Cooled Memory Foam today. Skechers. Comfort included.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy sex, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take one capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Rush to 7-Eleven and get Ageless Male Tonight.
And welcome back. Sports Drive with you right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5 and on Blab TV. I think Blab TV's dealing with maybe getting struck by lightning, as many of us were. Jordan, this was one of these lightning kind of days where I'm not gonna lie, I was about 6 or 7 times like, okay, I'm gonna make a run for it.
Dude, I ran up the ramp coming in here today.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not playing with this
Do
lightning.
you time, or are you with me? It's a smart thing to do, but do you time when you only have like 3-second intervals before the thunder strikes? When you hear the thunder, do you book it right after that? Because that is a lesson, and if you get struck by lightning trying this, it's not on me. But if you hear a huge thunder,
yeah,
try to leave right after that because you're usually, unless it's a crazy storm, you have about 4 or 5 seconds to get to your venue. But
See, for me, I usually just wait to see the flash of lightning, and then I take off running.
I just push Grandma and use her as a shield. No. All right, let's go ahead and on that note, Fred does not condone anything that comes from the words of my mouth. Fred Barnett joins us from over in Who Dat Nation out there in New Orleans as the Saints get ready. Don't worry about the weather. It is a dome. Just don't bring those big purses in, Fred. That is something that many women have figured out, or men. It's 2019, not judging. But you cannot bring anything into the Superdome or it will be confiscated. And that lady, I swear, that was one of the best fights between the security guard and the Louis Vuitton lady that she had to leave outside. Fred,
you don't bring no persons in here.
Fred, how's everything? And look, football's back. As a former Saint and everything that you've done throughout your career, you got to be pretty pumped to watch that game tonight. Are you going to be watching or staying for the whole game, or are you heading back? I know you guys have a lot of big things coming up here.
No, I'm gonna stay for the whole thing. I'll come back tomorrow.
Fred Barnett joining us here from the Pensacola Jets. Fred, you guys are gearing up for the season. I know you're going to be going up and down I-10 for some of these games. A lot of the games you're playing this year are over in Louisiana, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And talk about a little bit about the team and so far what you've seen in the progression, because you've been the coach there for a while now and you have a chance to watch the growth. What can we expect this year with the Pensacola semi-pro football team?
Well, you can expect a lot of high-scoring games, a lot of great defensive games. The team has really matured and grown over the past year and a half. We've added some new additions to the team, some old, some brand new. They came in and gelled well. You know, we got legitimate guys who are going to be playing college ball come this time next year or at another higher level when they're professionals with the skill level that these guys have.
Fred, looking right now at the Saints, I'm just going to say I'm married to a Saint, and in different ways. I mean, I guess that fits for both. But yeah, she's from right there. Went to LSU, big New Orleans Saints. We have a bunch of black and gold onesies for our baby growing up. I tried to convince my brand it was UCF. It was not. I don't even think they sell those up here. But when it comes down to New Orleans, the last 2 years watching the Saints go out there and the way they lost with the Diggs play, and also last year with the worst call in the history of sports with that play right there with Bill Vinovic's crew on the clear PI that wasn't called. What are you seeing around the coaching staff, talking to the players and being around the game there? How are the people taking it? Just, hey, we have to show back up to work and it's a new day? Or is that still something that they've got some, maybe some signs in the locker room and things going on where they haven't forgotten?
Yeah, that's one thing that they do in their training facilities. They put up different signs and boards throughout the locker room to just signify what that season goal is. I was here at the NFC Championship game, so, that was the last game that the fans, the players, got a chance to participate in. And it ended on a way, way bitter note. I'm standing right here, and the dome is going to be quaking tonight. It's people everywhere. They've been waiting since that day to get back in this dome to start this year of redemption.
Fred, you've been there in a situation that very few get a chance to be in, where you've been one of those guys during preseason trying to fight for a position, trying to make a team, to make a roster. Look, when you're a football player, you want to be one team, and you always will be. Going through training camp, these become friends for life. But when you're in the preseason and you know that the guy next to you, who's your pal during the day, but during that night game could take your job because there's only so many 52-man roster spot, is it get pretty, I guess you could say, hostile in there when it comes to on the field to try to win that job, or is everybody supporting everybody?
You'd be surprised. The vets support the rookies the most. They want the rookies to succeed. Now, as far as other rookies, it's competition. Every day is competition. When you're out there, you guys are teammates, but it's, hey, I'm trying to earn a job here. I'm trying to earn a spot. So I'm not going to take it easy on you. But, after practice, you might get a little squabble, pushing and shoving or whatever during practice. But after practice in the locker room, everybody is shaking hands and, hey, let's go grab something to eat or, this and that after practice. So it's a professional respect thing at the end of the day. But between the practice times, it's all out war, every man for himself.
Speaking with Fred Barnett, we had an opportunity to be there with the New Orleans Saints and now the head coach of the Pensacola Jets, our semi-pro football team gearing up for another great season. Fred, when you look right now at the NFL, everybody loves their stadium, but some places you just know that it means a little more. And in the SEC, when you look at stadiums like LSU and Alabama and what Texas A&M, Rocky Top, the Swamp, all over, these venues are huge, Sanford. But when you talk about the NFL, a lot of people say it doesn't get much louder than when it's rocking in the Bayou over there in the Superdome. Do you feel that it's the toughest stadium to play when the Saints fans are in a big game?
Oh, no, most definitely. I can tell you like this. At the NFC Championship game, Jared Goff, he could not hear the calls. They stopped calling it through the communication device. They started using hand signals. That's how loud it was. They got, you get false starts, you get delayed games, you get all of that by the crowd noise in here. And it's the fans. Our fans, we're relentless. This city is relentless. Back in 2005, this dome wasn't filled with football players and fans. It was filled with people trying to survive. People who lost their loved ones and don't know where they are. And it meant so much to bring this back that it has a different feel to it. It's a supernatural feel to it almost when you walk into the zone.
Fred, looking at the New Orleans Pelicans, Anthony Davis doesn't exist anymore, but the Zion era has begun. He was out there throwing some balls with Drew Brees. On the way in, are you seeing the billboards? I haven't been over there since he's been drafted, but is it already? Is everyone getting the Zion fever over there?
Oh yeah. The Smoothie King Center where they play at is right across from the Superdome.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at it and see this big, life-size poster of Zion. With his arms outreach, his massive arms outreach with a ball in his hand. You see people rocking the Pelican jersey, the Zion jersey. Oh yeah, it's definitely Zion fever in the Big East.
Yeah, you might have in the past got team parking, but we share one parking garage, Pelicans, and when we go over, even with the media, covering the Pelicans and Saints. So I've definitely know that area right there. And on a street party day, you probably want to get on the trolley and park way out of town because you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and don't even try to call Uber.
No. Look, New Orleans has a lot of things that what makes it great being inside the city, like it's in the heart of the city, which if you look at a lot of NFL stadiums, most of them are outside. Like growing up in Boston, Foxborough, everybody says they call them the New England Patriots. Foxborough is like 40-minute drive outside the city of Boston, but everybody has to commute. It's just like Arlington is not in downtown Dallas, but New Orleans is one of those things that makes it great is you can be having dinner and jump over to a football game that's in downtown, but it also makes it crappy trying to leave the stadium after a big game.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I was lucky to catch an Uber to the game, but after the game, there's no sense in calling because they can't get through. They're going to cancel you, so you just better off walking or try to find one of the guys riding the little bike carts. And hop on with them and pay them $40 to take you a quarter mile down the road.
Yeah, and even when you get in your car, good luck. Make sure, I learned too a long time ago when you're driving to New Orleans, make sure you're going down the right side of the street, just saying, because a lot of one lanes and you don't want to be that person. Not that I ever was, wink. Looking at some of the things going on here in the NFL, we saw a lot of the quarterbacks get their first start. Fred, you're one of these kind of guys that had an opportunity to play. You've got a lot of athletic quarterbacks and guys that you've seen, you've played with and also now helped coach with the Jets. When you look at a guy like Kyler Murray, he had his first game and Murray looked good. He went out there and he made some big plays. Do you think Kyler's going to be able to sort of get away from what has been the Robert Griffin III or many guys that are scrambling quarterbacks that have gotten hurt before? Do you think Kyler Murray is going to be able to have a long-term career in the NFL?
Unfortunately, I don't wish nothing bad on anybody. I hope he has a great, healthy career. But, history is history. And with his playing style and his size, Russell Wilson has held up pretty good, but he has a stouter frame, stouter body. But like you said, when you're out there running like that and you're trying to cut and you got defensive linemen that run faster than your running back, coming to hunt you down. You can't get away from it. This is not college ball. They're right there in your face. And if you don't protect yourself, those knees, those ACLs, man, they don't last up too long.
Well, Fred, I hope you have a good time out there tonight. We're coming up on the top of the hour. Before we let you go, let everybody know when's your first game and how they can get involved there with the Pensacola Jets.
Okay, yeah. First game is going to be next Saturday. It's going to be against the defending 3-time champs of this league. So we get the first game with the champs.
Well, Fred.
So it's a great test.
Well, hey, Fred.
And yeah, just go ahead, Jack.
No, I was going to say we're at the top of the hour. Have a safe trip in New Orleans, and when you come back, we're going to talk some more Jets football. Okay, buddy?
Okay, Chad. Thank you, guys. You guys have a safe weekend.
Appreciate it. You too. Fred Barnett, New Orleans Saints, right there, coming back for more.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 945. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
Those up the middle. At the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 29. He's getting Derek Brooks all the way. Touchdown Tampa Bay. Derek Brooks, the dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Noah Watson is wearing a green jacket, and this time his name is Bubba.
Pitch on the way. Russell drives one in the air. Deep left center. That's back near the wall. It's got a chance. Grand slam. Grand slam, Addison Russell.
The new WNBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
And Richardson breaks free on the sideline. End zone. How about that? Bama scores on a 34-yard touchdown run by the Doak Walker Award winner, Trick Richardson, who broke a lot of Emmett Smith's records back in Pensacola, Florida.
And these them Louisiana, Pensacola guys, they looking crazy and all that.
Morris, blocked by the tight end Paul. That opens up the door. Breaking the Kendricks tackle. To the pylon. Touchdown.
What a nice effort there by Alfred Morris, extending that ball over the goal line.
Near side ball is that big game. Doug Baldwin's got a first down. Doug Baldwin, 93 yards, now has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Reggie Emmons, and he's going to get an ovation. Guy from Pensacola, Florida.
Welcome back, Sports Drive with you right here, 6:02 on this Friday. Hope you've enjoyed the tsunami that is our weather today. It is came out of nowhere, and it was pretty rough. So if you were inside in one of those chambers or in one of those like huge warehouses or something that you had no clue, then you missed a lot of people hiding from. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it was pretty bad. Wait, no, I don't think like that. This is not one of those Lifetime movies.
If you're locked inside a chamber.
Talking about like a hangar. If you might have been working at a hangar for like the military. Okay. Oh, now you get it. Okay. Yeah. Mine's going way too distorted here, sir. Don't do that on my show. This is a family show. We don't make jokes. Jeffrey D joining us here as he joins us each and every week to talk and deal with my nonsense. And now clearly Jordan's nonsense as well joining us. How are you doing, my friend? This is back-to-back looking good. You are out picnic tabling me with kind shirts, more of a gentle color with the Gators there. Go Gators. Go Gator. Go Gator.
You know, getting my Gator lighter side here with the Gator logo. And, it's 2 weeks before the Gators
open the season. And so we're close.
Looking at that game, has anything changed from what you've read, what you've seen with the Miami and Florida game that might scare you, or you might be more optimistic from what you've seen in practice so far with Florida and Dan Mullen?
I think that the Gators are on the right track. Early in the season, I think they'll be fine, but there's some depth issues now. Of course, with Chris Steele having left and entered the transfer portal, and then Chris McWilliams, C.J. McWilliams, tore his Achilles the other day. He's a backup. So we're down to 5 corners on the team, and 2 of them are true freshmen. It's going to be kind of touch and go. They're going to have to stay healthy at the corner position. Now, some of those safeties could potentially move over and play corner. Some of them have those kind of skills, like Sean Davis. Maybe it's not catastrophic, but they've really got to stay healthy. They got to stay healthy at linebacker too. They're down to about 6 healthy linebackers. And really that's just for 2 positions. But depth can thin out really quickly. I remember Alabama lost 4 or 5 one year and was wondering what they were going to do. So I think that they'll be okay as long as they stay healthy. I think for the Miami game, of course Miami's still trying to decide on their quarterback, and all 3 of those guys. If it's Martell, I hope it's Martell, so we can watch a 5'10" guy try to throw over the Gator defensive line.
That'd be entertaining, especially with the addition that they got today. If he gets immediate eligibility.
Yes, the kid from Georgia, the 5-star that was the 27th best player in high school football just last year. Brenton, what's his last name?
Cox.
Brenton Cox.
Hey. Oh, no. Brenton Cox. Okay.
I knew it. That's why I didn't say it a while ago. I was like, he's going to do it.
But he got trouble for, blowing a little marijuana.
Yeah.
Up on the
it happens.
Up in Athens. What if they tested students before they went in for take a test, and about 85% of the students would probably
they would
not
stop testing.
Yeah,
that's what, honestly, you should start testing students more than you test athletes. If anything, I would want my competitors smoking weed. I'd hope every one of them is, because they'd have a hard enough time getting off the couch after having Domino's than they would beating you in a football game.
That's what I was going to say. Just get your stadium sponsored by Funyuns and Taco Bell, and they'll be distracted the whole game.
Has anybody that's dated, married, or does it themselves ever been like, man, I love Jim. Jim is such a great guy. He takes bong rips, and he goes to the gym, and he's very successful, and he's able to mow the lawn, and he's able to go out there and take the kids to the park and keep himself in good shape and shave and buy a bunch. Let's give a big whammy to all that. Be like, man, Jim hasn't got off the couch in 4 weeks.
Say those are the slowest bicep curls.
It's like, come on.
Absolutely.
Nobody's ever said so. Yeah, what is this? These guys like to, and they're playing a physical sport too, where you do get hit. Anybody that's played football, I was an option quarterback on a small offensive line, the size of guys like Jeff and I, and you would have been way too big to play offensive line, meaning strong, and you actually look like you could play a physical position. The guys look like me, and none of these guys on the line. It was a Catholic school that our offensive line looked like our punter, and it came down, not the punter from Miami, but it came down to you took hits every day. As an option quarterback, in layman's term, in high school, an option quarterback that has a great running back is pitch the ball and get smashed. And that's what I did on a daily basis. And there was a lot of days that I went home with the nickname Bones Malone and wanted to have an ice bath, and it was aches and pains. Nobody in my family was offering a J. But I'm telling you, it comes down to the difference. These guys are physically hurt. I don't really care what they're doing as long as they're not hurting somebody or doing something or dealing. Now, if you're dealing, you can be kicked off the team because you don't have time to do that. This is just ridiculous that we live in 2019 where half the states in our country, it's fine. And I'm not sitting here and this is a protest to change laws and do this. I'm talking about when athletes get kicked off football teams for smoking a joint and getting tested. That's really ridiculous.
Well, I've said for years now, and you've heard me, that the NCAA shouldn't have any purview over anything other than performance-enhancing drugs.
I agree. Not performance-dehancing drugs.
Dehancing, exactly. And so why would you do that? Why would you even bother to tell? I mean, what separates an athlete from anybody else on the campus? It doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to gain an unfair advantage on your competition, yeah. But I guess they think that marijuana is a gateway drug to cocaine and to heroin but just like they say Funyuns is a gateway chip to Doritos and Zaps.
My breath. Once I started the dating scene and then married, like Funyuns. If you want to kiss somebody, you're not in that not in that realm. Funyuns. Funyuns
or just
are like
give them Funyuns too. Share the Funyuns with them, and there you go.
I'm not a huge fan of. You know what are really good, by the way, though?
What's that?
The white cheddar Cheeto Puffs.
Really?
Really good,
I've never
by the way.
liked Cheetos. I've always thought that
they're too hard. They get on you. Wipe away jeans.
Wipe away
exactly. Jeans. The wipe away jeans.
White boy jeans.
I'll never forget the time at a motorsports place. What was it called?
That was a Typhoon Motorsports. We were out there. Yep,
exactly.
We were crushing barbecue, and I was eating like a pig. And I looked over and had barbecue sauce. I think there was a little potato salad that was like leaking from the side of my shirt. Baked beans, and we were in the middle of the show, and we were passing. I said, Jeff, pass the headset. Papers were blowing everywhere. We were outside, so. I mean, just everything was getting barbecue sauce everywhere, and I was getting annoyed. And I was just like, man, I wish I had a pair of like Dickies or those pants with the cargo pant, Dickie type pants that just had a slot for some like towelettes where you could just just right there. Done. Just always have a packet right there of those towelettes where at any time for guys.
If only they put them in tiny little square paper pouches that you could just stick in your pocket.
I'm just saying, as asinine as this sounds, pocket squared. Yep. As asinine as this sounds, how many times have we had fast food or something, and the grease from the chips or any of that just goes on my shorts? I mean, most people are like, have some kind of have some decency for yourself and grab a napkin, but sometimes you don't have the time to do that.
Fingerprints on the back of my phone.
That's really interesting that Chad would have some wipe towelettes or whatever they're called in his pocket at just some random time. I mean, if he was on Let's Make a Deal, the Monty Hall would probably pay him $150 for that paper clip he's got in there too.
Listen, Jeff, the difference between this would be I could see me getting like a rally of people together for this. And like just looking in the crowd and just a bunch of like slobbering heathens of like just being like, well, yeah, but like, okay, this guy, like the audience would be people that clearly do not care about hygiene like myself because like I said, first thing I'm looking at the jeans and multiple times I have, I'm not going to, sweaty hands or greasy hands, they're just going to go right there or on like the side of a sofa. You know.
I think that's just a guy thing because anytime I'm
these are guy wipe away jeans. I'm not making these for female.
Anytime I'm having dinner with my girlfriend or like my family, it's like somebody's always bringing me a napkin because I just fix my food and I go sit down. I think it's just natural for a guy to just kind of, wipe it off on his pants leg.
From the guy that is embracing sunflower seeds, I have not found a trash can. I am putting the eaten sunflower seeds in front of you guys here. That could be looked at in some places as rude. Not here, folks. It's my show. No, I'm just playing. But when it comes down to some of the things going on here, we got NFL football going on. Can you judge, Jeff, do you judge anything based on what you saw in the first preseason game? Daniel Jones, 5 for 5, touchdown, looked good. Duke quarterback, we saw him at the Senior Bowl. Yes, it was against not the best competition. Browns, Baker Mayfield's looking solid as ever. And you had Kyler Murray, looked great for a drive. Haskins threw a couple of picks. I'm here to tell you, though, for the people that say don't judge Haskins that much, look, Washington fans, it's going to be a rough season. It's going to be. Alex Smith was a consistent, solid quarterback. He will not be playing football again. I hope he can walk. And I just want to be honest there because Alex Smith was a good guy, but he suffered the injury where he's not coming back. Mackenzie Milton, I have to have that trust conversation with my brain every day that Milton is not taking the field for UCF ever again.
Well, you know what? I heard you say the other day that Milton probably is not coming back, and that.
Hopefully he can keep his leg.
Yeah, I mean he's got some real issues. But I saw an ESPN interview with him that he says he's hopeful that he's coming back and that his nerve is regenerated. But that sounds like it runs contrary to what you've heard from inside sources.
Yes, I think that is one of those kind of things where he's clearly making a point to try to make people feel okay. What he's giving you one of those vague answers. You know that like all of us are leaving this room when we get done with the show today after the Wahoos at 6:30. We're all going to leave and hey, Jordan, Jeff, let's meet up for that drink. Sounds good. What plans? I'll text you later. We all go to the car. You know that we're not going to see each other tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that wasn't an answer. If we're like, hey, we're going to meet downtown at this place, I'll save you a seat next to the bar at this, more than likely that might happen. I still might no-show. But at the same time, that might happen. If you're like, oh, yeah,
show up.
You see what I'm saying, though.
Save you a seat next to the bar. We'll be in the booth over here.
You get what I'm saying, though, with this conversation, I hope, is, you get that vague, like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. I hope I see you in the family this week. That's great. We'll grab some wings. Yeah, that's just a kind thing to say. I'm heading home, and I'm going to pass out on the couch watching football tonight, preseason. That's what Mackenzie Milton's like, giving you the optimistic. He's not saying like, my leg is going to be gone. It's like getting ripped apart by wolves. Like, he's letting us know that there's a shot he's coming back. From what I've heard, from some pretty good sources. We were talking to Dr. Eric Nielsen, our injury report doctor, and right down the road, he was with Andrews, orthopedic surgeon, one of the best in the business. And what Nielsen does down the road, if you need it quick in and out, you can get an X-ray, you can get a CAT scan. They'll take care of it, a CT scan, and get you on your way for cheap. But they're not going to charge you these prices that you see that your insurance pays for that are crazy. I mean, he takes $25, you can get it scanned, things like that. Like, so everybody, if you have that injury, go down there and see him. That's what they're for. It's like, hey, we'll take care of you. If you have that lingering injury, to your ankle, to your knee, to your joints, go check it out, and he'll be able to take care of you. Great guy. He's the Auburn team physician, so they trust him. And they've had some pretty serious injuries. They were so injured that they hired at one point Gene Chizik but when it comes mentally, that's a different type of injury.
Say that's a head injury. Yeah.
That's too many concussions. But I look at it and say, from the injury he suffered, I think his football career, even if he's able to walk and everything's great and they repair it even better than normal, I don't think he's ever playing football again at a level. I mean, he's never going to be that same guy. His mobility was such a key part of his game. I don't think he's ever going to come back the same person.
Yeah, his pocket presence, his mobility within the pocket was incredible. I mean,
incredible.
He would
one of the best ever. Yeah.
He would escape every, if someone broke free and was headed right at him, he'd find a way to get away from that guy. Either roll out right or left, or step up in the pocket, and then throw a laser to somebody down the field, for a first down or a touchdown. So yeah, I mean that probably was critical to his success. So I just hate to see it because he's such a good guy and such a great representative of college football, and he's kind of what college football is all about. A guy that's less than 6 feet tall, and that's just a great football player.
And a champion. Looking at the Conference USA, American champion, folks. Don't get it wrong. But that's exactly what I meant. You had Mike Tyson.
I already see a couple of Alabama people out here with pitchforks on the front.
That's all right. We got locks. Tyson and Nick Saban hanging out together last night. We talked to Bill Bender about it. In their prime, who was a better champion? I know it's different. One's a coach, one's a boxer. But who would you pick?
Well,
I know it's different. It's like compare. I know. Look,
apples and oranges.
I understand, but who would you take as the best as a champion? We make lists all the time. Just flip a coin if you don't want to compete. You don't want to participate.
I don't know. Mike Tyson is the greatest boxer of all time. I think he's pretty doggone good. But,
in his prime, I think
he would knock people out because he was just kind of overwhelmed the guy. Saban's now done it for 10 years.
Did you ever pay for a Mike Tyson fight?
I think I probably chipped in.
I did as well. Lennox Lewis, I did that. I was getting his prime was when I was little, and then as I got, I saw the not end of his career, but the Lennox Lewis fights and some of those. I did chip in for that. Yeah, I did. I realized the guy got way more money than what the pay-per-view was. I think the pay-per-view was like $79.99, and I know he collected $10 from about 40 people. That's all I'm going to say. So if you're out there listening, back in Melbourne, Florida, which you're not, and you have too much time on your hands if you are, because you have radio stations in your own hometown. Just saying. Jerry, I know who you are. just
yeah, but that ESPN radio station is not nearly as good as this one.
That's true. That is true. I will give them that, even though this segment has gone south with Wipe Away Jeans. I do believe, though, that we've all been part of an event. Okay, guys out there listening, this is since it's raining, it's Friday. This is what we do around 6:18. I think Blab TV is off air right now, so I don't have to be too professional on TV, which I never am. I have a bag of sunflower seeds, not knowing we were off air right in front of me, ripped open, and seeds chewed right here. So I've never, no, this is not like something new. I made the excuse for that. But, Jeff, Jordan, we've all been at somewhere where you have chipped into something, a kegger or something, and you start looking around and being like, it seems like a lot more people have chipped in than the price of this. Agree? It doesn't have to be a keg, but are we all agreeing on that?
Or you see those people who didn't chip in actually using it.
Look, church pizza party one time. I was like, I know how much a pizza is, and I know that they got $10 from, I think, like 7 or 8 people in the room, and only 2 boxes of pizza showed up. So I quick math right there. We should have had an entire Italian feast. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, and there's probably a little organizer or surcharge that exists there.
That's right.
The organizer gathers $70.
Taxation without representation.
And they pay $25 for the pizza, and they pocket $45.
Which is horrible in a church group. But
by the same token, not this type of token, but the same token.
Careful, Antonio Callaway.
Yeah. Let's talk some Callaway. We do have to take a quick break on this note, and when we come back, we're going to talk that Kenny Young bone-smashing hit against Gardner Minshew last night. If you missed that, the Baltimore Ravens and Jacksonville Jaguars, after a crushing blow, he is now just 1 murder away from tying Ray Lewis for the team record. We're coming back for more right here on the Sports Drive.
Here on the Gulf Coast, we love our food, and the need for individuals trained in professional culinary arts and hospitality will never disappear. George Stone Technical College is offering program scholarships for professional culinary arts and hospitality. The coursework prepares students for employment in the food service and hospitality industry as food prep workers, restaurant cooks, chefs, head cooks, and food service managers. To learn more about these programs, cost, and schedules, as well as the industry salary, visit georgestoncollege.edu.
On today's episode of America's Least Wanted, the home invaders most likely to threaten your family are not human. Cockroaches can spread salmonella and trigger asthma attacks. Termites destroy billions of dollars in property each year. And stinging insects send 500,000 people to emergency rooms. Learn how to protect your family. Arm yourself with the facts at pestworld.org. A public service announcement from the National Pest Management Association. Sports is live and local every Saturday from 11 to 1.
You hear Nick Saban say, well, we need to get back to the Alabama standard. You went 13-1, 14-1 last year. You lost in the national title game to a guy who's probably going to be the next it quarterback inside the NFL.
Sports Call with Jordan Glass and Davis Allen on your radio, on Facebook, and YouTube.
Year 1 with Dan Mullen, we saw a lot of growth out of him because they also expanded him.
At ESPN Pensacola 945.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Some high-quality sunflower seeds, folks. Welcome back to the Sports Drive right here. You know, you get what you pay for, and even in sunflower seeds, like the difference between 16 cents in a bag can be the difference between the 9 or 10 black kernels. You know what I'm talking about? Those ones that you don't have water with you, and gosh, that's a bad day.
You called them black kernels. You know what they really are?
So where are you going?
They're
with
like
this?
a weevil or something that's burrowed into the sunflower seed, and that's why they taste so funky and sour. Is because there's actually a bug in there that you're eating whenever you eat that kernel. So you really need to
protein.
If you throw those in your mouth without looking, you really need to kind of open them and take a look at the kernel before you eat it, because otherwise you're eating some kind of bug. It's not going to hurt you. It's probably, like Jordan said, plenty of protein.
See, that's why I switched.
You've just, like someone who ruined the dinner by talking about something gross. You have ruined that bag of seeds. Now I'm afraid now.
That's why I switched to Biggs instead of that particular brand. I'm not going to say that brand on the air, but I switched to Biggs.
Yeah.
From them. You don't have those in Biggs.
That's it's the opposite of Goliath, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a quarterback that got sacked a lot from Fresno State back in the day. Carr. Okay, let's take a look here. You can pick or choose on that. Derek Seeds? All right, let's go to the different things going on here. Top 10 strength of schedules right now in college football. And this is according to ESPN. Number 10, LSU. I think that's about right. I think, and remember, when I start reading this list, we got to sort of fade away from believing that the SEC West is as dominant as it once was. When I say that, let me make sure to tell you that I still think the SEC West is the best division in the best conference overall. But it's very close. It used to be the SEC West was just top to bottom ridiculously good, and the East had Georgia when Florida was down a couple years ago. Tennessee was not there. This is before Kentucky made a great push. Vanderbilt was still Vanderbilt. South Carolina wasn't that great. It was bad. And now, when you look at Missouri and Kentucky and squads like Tennessee getting better, and South Carolina being competitive, and Florida making that push up, and Georgia already being there, and Vanderbilt can beat a lot of teams now, you look around what now is Ole Miss and Mississippi State not being as good as they were a few years back, when at one time, remember, the state of Mississippi had 2 teams in the top 3. Mississippi State, week 7, was number 1 in the nation, and Ole Miss was number 3. Now, you can say what you want. They hadn't played everyone yet, but even to be there, because if you're a bad team and you're undefeated 7 weeks into the season, you're going to be like number 19. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't just give you the number 1 rating just for, blanks and giggles.
Right.
So, at this point, you got to look at the divisions as very comparable when I start reading this list, because you would just give almost everybody in the SEC West already one of the top schedules, and it's not that way, because there are a lot of games in Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, games that used to be big-time games that aren't that way anymore in the West. I think the worst team in all of the SEC is Arkansas, and I think that's I think it's obvious right now. So when I'm looking at the schedules, it took me a little while to think of it that way. But when I started looking at this list, more SEC East teams than SEC West teams on the list. Jeff, being the SEC guru on this, would you agree with that?
Let me make a general comment about the strength of schedule, and this is what they do is they average the teams you play. So if you play a team that's 130th in the nation, the worst team in the country, and you also play the number 1 team,
that's true.
That averages to 65. So here's a hypothetical. You're the 10th best team in the country. You play the top 6 teams in the country and the bottom 6 teams in the country. Well, this strength of schedule thing is going to tell you you've got the 65th best schedule.
When you played the top 6 teams in the country, yeah.
Average them all. But if you're the 10th best team in the country and you play numbers 62, 63, 64, 65, and 66, you have about the same strength of schedule, but you're favored to beat all those teams. In the other scenario, you're favored to lose to 6 of them. So, you've got to kind of – it's really about how many teams on your schedule can beat you. And that's really the only thing that counts. And so these teams that are ranked, 50s and 60s that can't beat you, they make your schedule look better than if you played the 120th team. And so you got to be careful with that. You've got to – and I noticed Texas A&M wasn't on that list of the top 10. It's ridiculous. I mean,
you got Clemson at Clemson.
They've got at Clemson. They've got play Alabama at home. They're at LSU. They're at Georgia. I mean, those are teams that they're going to be prohibitive underdogs in those games. And if they play the 60 through 65th teams in the country, they probably have the same strength of schedule, but would not be a prohibitive underdog.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list right here. I'll give you guys the quick list as we go through here. Number 10 is LSU. Number 9, UCLA. Number 8, Oregon State. Number 7, Auburn. Number 6, Colorado. Number 5, Georgia. Number 4, Stanford. Number 3, Florida. Number 2, USC. And number 1, South Carolina. So pretty much it's all either Pac-12 or SEC teams, and they're basing that on the Pac-12, like you said, they don't have anybody in the top 5, but they have a lot of teams 30 through 45, 30 through 50. It's like their entire conference is pretty much teams like 35 to 60. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's horrible. That's why you can actually, when you start reading off teams in the Pac-12, you could go top to bottom in the 12 teams and really legitimately almost make an argument for all 12 teams to have a shot to win the conference. And that's not a good thing because, but Washington, you would quickly go to Oregon and Washington State as the top dogs. And then the bottom dogs would be Arizona, Cal's, teams like that. But if you took those teams, if Cal played against Washington State at home, Cal could win that game. And then you got your teams like Utah that you expect to have a good season, but you never know where they're going to finish. Teams like Colorado, who remember 2 years ago, they were in the top 10, and then last year at the bottom. USC, who we expect to, roster-wise, be great, but Clay Helton's always great for 4 or 5 losses. UCLA, where we expect Chip Kelly to take that next step, but you never know what you're going to get. So, it's Herm Edwards, same thing with Arizona State. The whole entire division is Oregon State does actually suck, but everybody else has a shot, and it's crazy to think that you're exactly right for what you said, and that, I think, is the epitome of what you said. It shows that Pac-12, because most people would say Ohio State schedule, or people like that, that's a tougher schedule. But they're just saying you had to play a bunch of 30s and 40s, and that's why consistently it's there.
And I think that Jordan and I are kind of Gator homers, but we know that our schedule,
no, I'm just joking.
Our schedule is more navigable than Texas A&M's is.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about it. And here's Texas A&M, not even in the top 10 in the strength schedule, and we're number 3.
And
listen,
and
the reason
Stanford's
is because,
4, yeah.
The reason is because we're playing 2 fringe non-conference top 25 games against Miami and Florida State that elevates the strength of schedule.
And you do have this year a pretty tough West. You always take LSU. LSU's always.
Right, LSU to Auburn.
Yeah.
That's a tough West.
That's a tough
There's
West.
No question.
And that's why number 1 on the list, South Carolina, and
South Carolina is pretty tough. They play Clemson every year, and now they've
got Alabama this year too.
Yeah, so they're rotating in Alabama, and then they've got Georgia, Florida. I think their other Western foes like Texas A&M. So South Carolina is just brutal. Will Muschamp will have a better team this year, but they won't win more than 6 or 7 games because they just can't. They're not going to be able to beat all those teams on their schedule.
Every single week when you look at this, I was looking at it, I was just going through South Carolina's schedule. Even some of their out-of-conference games outside of Charleston Southern, every week the Cox have it rough. And I think that's one of the things you look at. You're looking at right now that they have to take on North Carolina, which isn't horrible, but it's not an awful game outside of conference. But then, remember, they've got, in their West opponents this year, they've got Texas A&M and Alabama. And that's pretty tough. And then on top of that, Georgia and Florida, and Missouri's going to be more improved this year.
And of course
Clemson. So yeah,
and they have to go to Georgia, Missouri, and Tennessee. So that's going to be 3.
Yeah, that's just really, really
very tough.
And Chad made a good point the other day. He said, if you're going to play really, really good teams that you can't beat, play them on the road.
Yeah.
So that you can get home games against people that you can beat.
They would rather. And they have Alabama at home this year, I believe. But they would rather have Alabama and teams like Clemson on the road and have games like Tennessee and Kentucky at home if it was up to the schedule makers. Because, those are the coin toss. The coin toss is for South Carolina. Every team has them. But some of them don't. Alabama doesn't. But some teams have the coin tosses. And for South Carolina, the coin tosses are the Missouris, the Tennessees, Kentuckys, Vanderbilts, those games. Those are the coin tosses. Sometimes Florida, sometimes Texas A&M. But I think they've taken the next step. Texas A&M and Florida fans will be very upset if they lose to South Carolina. Agreed? Yeah. I mean, that's,
both of those
but tell you what,
favored,
though, that's true, though, but,
took a final play last year. But that game was just awful.
We're talking about coin toss games. And really, Missouri and South Carolina are usually pretty good. And they're almost coin toss games for the previous editions of Gators for the last 6 years. So in the long run, you're going to win half of those games.
Right.
And so if you've got 3 teams that are going to beat you in 4 coin tosses, you're probably going to lose half of the coin tosses. You're going to go 7-5. So, I mean, it's really all about who can beat you on your schedule. And so, if you're playing teams in the 60s and 70s and get a decent, middle of the pack strength of schedule, well, you're probably going to go 12-0 if you're any good.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more NFL football as Antonio Brown wants to wear his old helmet. He can in the yard with his son. We're coming back for more right here on the Sports Drive.
What are you going to order? I don't know. Part of me wants steak, but the other part of me is sort of craving breakfast.
Luckily, you don't have to choose. The new Denny's Sirloin Steak and Eggs meal is breakfast and dinner. And Denny's is elevating steak and eggs with USDA Choice Sirloin. And right now, it's just $8.99.
Choice Sirloin Steak, eggs, and hash browns for $8.99? It's the perfect combination.
Just like us.
Am I the eggs or steak in this scenario?
Like the $8.99 Sirloin Steak and Eggs, you're the perfect combination of all the things I like.
That's the right answer.
Oh, I know.
See you at Denny's.
Dine in and limited time only. Price and participation may vary. No substitutions.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
Coach K brings football to life year-round. The teams, the players, and the front office.
Well, we're very appreciative to Dabo Swinney, the head coach of the national champion Clemson Tigers, to take the time to be with us.
Talk football with Coach K every day at noon on your radio.
He does possess the skills necessary to play and be successful in the National Football League or anywhere else.
And Coach K live on Facebook and YouTube at ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Radio is taking over ESPN News. You can now watch your favorite radio shows all in one place. From Golic and Wingo. Oh, yeah. To the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
All right, I'm available every day. Thanks.
To the Stephen A. Smith Show.
I just don't understand this guy.
To the Will Kane Show.
It's my job to tell the truth.
From morning to night, the best of ESPN Radio is now available on ESPN News.
When working at a growing business, you wear many hats. The new business hat, the buying toner for the copy machine hat, the sifting through tons of resumes hat. You can throw away that last hat thanks to Indeed.com. When posting your job, Indeed lets you add screener questions that give you a less time-consuming route to your short list of qualified candidates. So go ahead, dust off that extra long lunch hat. Hiring's better when you've got your short list. Save time on hiring when you post a job on Indeed. Get started today at Indeed.com/hire.
What if people had a battery level icon? Like on your phone? You'd see a lot of us in need of a recharge. Thank goodness there's 5-Hour Energy. Because just one sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-Hour Energy shot can get you all the way back to 100% fast. And isn't life better at 100%? 5-Hour Energy. Get back to 100%. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.
Welcome back, Sports Drive with you right here. Yeah, that's probably the right answer, Jordan, to the question there. But I wasn't making a case of just showed pretty much grease stains on my pants, and that's what they are.
I would say he's pretty seedy.
Number one seed there. It's yes, white boy jeans would have solved this problem.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, hey.
I always have a backup pair of pants in the car. They actually ask me that a lot. I also do a lot of TV promos and running around, but they're always like, "You weren't wearing that today, were you?" I was like, "Listen, do not judge." And I sweat a lot. Let's move on here to some of the other things going on here. The Antonio Brown situation. He wants to wear his old helmet. He says he has better vision, can run routes. You know, I completely think he's being a diva. And instead of regular pads, he can go with maxi pads. But when it comes down to overall, I also think that the NFL, to me, and I know it's a business run. I'm more of like the Ma and Pa store where I walk up there and it's, Tony's Pizza. It's not the chain where, Tony's Pizza, you're like, like a meal? Come on, we're going to bring it back. Just bring it back, get them new pasta. Get them like some places, you can't just do that. You go through, try to take my computer to Best Buy because the screen was barely cracked, and they were like, oh, no.
Try to sell you a brand new one, yeah.
Got to send it to Hewlett Packard. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm not sending it. Not worth it. So I took it down the road, and it's going to cost me a couple $100, whatever. But when it comes down to the situation, how I'd run it would be like that Italian restaurant. Would be like, okay, let them wear the helmet. Just sign right here on this big dotted line right here to say you're never going to sue us if anything happens with this helmet. Safety, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Sign the dotted line. You never will sue us. You can wear whatever you want. And you can wear a beanie cap. All we care. But the NFL has to go through more protocol than that because they open up Pandora's box for everybody. That's the thing. They've got thousands of athletes that then would be like, well, whoa, why does he get to wear that? I like that helmet too. Clearly, he's making a point here that there was better vision with this helmet. So why wouldn't every other receiver want this helmet if he was allowed? The other ones are just not under the pansy, hey, suck it up, it's not that big of a deal type of thing. That's what it sounds like. It is like, if nobody else is complaining about something except for one person, usually that person's probably just being a prima donna. If there is 70, 80 receivers being like, hey, we can't see. I can't run my route. I'm getting hit by the ball running over the middle. Then there might be an NFL problem. But it sounds like he's being a diva over something that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably remember playing youth football.
Yes, I wore helmets.
You took the helmet that they issued you.
Well, I even visored it up.
A lot of times it had a wide receiver and you had a cage on it. And so you're trying to look past the middle piece of plastic.
Wait, cage? They gave me the one bar. Gary Anderson.
1 bar, yeah, okay. Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
I thought he looked like a kicker.
They said it was the quarterback's helmet. Oh.
Speaking of kickers, let me ask you guys a question.
I have a bone to pick.
Let me ask you guys, Ron Rivera last night.
Yes.
And you guys might have already discussed this. But,
no, we haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
Rivera, ex-Bears coach, now a Carolina Panther, decided that he would, because the Bears were out of timeouts, and they have a field goal kicking competition between Eddie Pinheiro and the guy that's, whatever the guy's name is that's competing with him. I can't remember.
Not Cody Parkey, I think his name is.
He decided to just give up 3 points and allow whoever the Bears wanted to send on the field to kick the field goal with 3 seconds left in the first half because the Bears had no timeouts left. So he called timeout to let them do that, and just gave away 3 points. It shows you how little coaches care about winning a preseason football game.
Well, and his ties to Chicago and
probably scored himself a lot of points.
Matt Nagy even talked about it, how it was a class act. Elliott Fry was the kicker you're thinking of. And I did see that story earlier. I was just double-checking Elliott Fry's name before we don't know who he is anymore. But I hope Pinheiro wins it, too. Solid kicker in college. But kicking is the most mental, as baseball pitchers are superstitious, kickers, your job depends on your mental health. Meaning that, like, the second, all these guys can kick field goals. Roberto Aguayo was the best kicker in college football history in accuracy his first 3 years, in the history of college football. And now, you go out in the yard, and he couldn't hit the other house if you asked him to kick it, his neighbor. Not one of those gated houses with the long driveways, but like next door, regular suburban neighborhood.
I think he's got the yips, kind of like a
big time. He's had the yips for a year and a half, though. He's done, and he was a first-round pick. What a waste that is.
Pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates back in the old days named Steve Blass. He was one of the best pitchers in the league, and then one day he just couldn't find the plate anymore. And Steve Sachs, remember the second baseman?
Rick Ankiel.
Rick
had that.
Ankiel, exactly. So he had moved him to left field.
Rick
he's a pretty good left
Ankiel
fielder.
was a guy that threw about 99, was one of those youth guys. He was like Strasburg. They were talking about him coming through, and he got to the bigs, and he couldn't get near the plate. Could never find the plate, and they moved him. And he had a decent career in the field because he was a great athlete, but never could figure it out again. And kickers are like that night and day. I mean, think about how many good kickers, Mike Vanderjagt, Blair Walsh, when he shanked that ball and was getting death threats, which is ridiculous, but missed a 19-yarder that would have sent Minnesota to the next round. Nobody, never was the same. Cody Parkey won't get another shot probably. They're probably like, look, we're done here. But the kicker is the one job where it's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, if people remember that? Like, where in the world is this kicker? Outside of like 5 kickers in the NFL, each one of them finds like a New Jersey the next week. So it's just one of those kind of things that you gotta realize. If you have a good kicker, it is such a luxury. Like to have Steven Gostkowski, and even though Gostkowski's had a couple bad years for the and not bad years, but bad kicks, even in the playoffs, but he's one of those reliable. He's one of those Pats have also done that. They do the little things right. Have you noticed, like, good teams, they do the little things that you take for granted when you have it right. I mean, in all sports.
Yeah.
You think about that. Like in Major League Baseball, the teams that are very good, what is one thing in baseball that isn't really talked about that much at a top level? Bullpens. Everything, you talk about a closer, you talk about a start rotation, but you really don't talk about those 6th, 7th, 8th guys that much. They're never mentioned in the big talk.
It's like the offensive line. They're the offensive line of baseball.
Yes.
They're the lifeline, but nobody really talks about them.
They're the ones every single night.
You've got to have them.
Every single night in those 4-2 games in baseball, they either close the door or on the bad teams, they lose the game for you. And like teams like Houston and teams like LA have pretty consistent. That's one thing. The Braves, Braves got a great team, but those 6th, 7th, 8th guys it was very suspect for a little while. And so they went out and got great bullpen pitching. They went out and got Shane Green and some of those guys, and it means something to do that. But in the NFL, kickers, you have to have that confidence. And for a lot of these kickers, you could look great one day and the next day you're gone. But to Rivera's part, I got no problem with it because it is the preseason. I look at preseason the same way as it means nothing. The New England Patriots have a losing record in the preseason over the last during Tom Brady's career. A losing record. They don't care about that, and nobody could care less. Brady didn't play half those games. But you just want to make sure that, guys, once in a blue moon, you'll get a Victor Cruz story, and you want to see your players. I love seeing, that's when, for the most part, you get to see Florida Gators, or you get to see UCF Knight players, or you get to see your favorite players go out there and compete for a job that they might not win, but you're rooting them on. That's the best part of the preseason, is rooting for the individuals, not as much the team. And so I got no problem with Ron Farah. Unless you're a freak fan that's like, come on, you're a Bear fan, come on, Bear. Like, they're not that worried. A Panther fan that was yelling at the TV.
You're not going to do that during the regular season.
Yeah.
But,
could care less about the overall score of it.
Who cares if you go 0-4 during the preseason? No. It doesn't make any difference.
No difference. Yeah.
You're playing your starters a series, and then you're just kind of experimenting. And so I think you do the right thing.
No, I agree. It's the preseason. You've got to will them out there. You've got to figure out who you need for the regular season. They don't look. You can go 0-4, still win a championship, like you've talked about with the Patriots. It doesn't matter. Put them out there. Take them in. Take them out. Put them in. Whatever. Do that with every position. Who cares?
You saw the eyebrow raise I gave you there?
Yeah.
I was trying to eat that whole handful of seeds.
I was like, did I say something
immediately?
wrong?
No. I thought you were going to add to the conversation there, and I was going to take a couple bites, but it clearly was coming back to me, so I didn't want to put that for people's sake.
Well, we do need to take a break, so if you want to throw it to a break.
Why don't you take that break for us? That sounds great.
We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be back with the Sports Drive right after this on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Want to know what I like best about high school sports? I love watching my son run on the field. I love the fact that since he's been playing high school sports, he's making better decisions. And I love knowing that with the proper equipment, education, conditioning, and coaching, high school sports here in Florida are safer than ever before. And that's something I really love.
This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Pensacola Beach isn't just a sun-soaked white sand paradise. It's also the best dance floor in 50 states. Every Tuesday night, the stage near the beach ball comes alive with great music you know and love. Bands on the Beach are free shows every Tuesday through October, and they're brought to you by the Santa Rosa Island Authority. This Tuesday, it's 5 amazing musicians. They're called the Slight Return Band. They have a trio of different frontmen, and they're going to play everything from your favorite rock, your favorite dance, and your favorite rhythm and blues. Join us for live music every Tuesday night at 7 for Bands on the Beach.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at lq.com.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, dilly dilly!
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Pensacola is loaded with famous athletes, and when it comes to seeing a chiropractor for their sports injuries, there is one team they trust, Doctors Edwin Roberts. A family tradition for 3 generations, Doctors Edwin Roberts Chiropractic, next to Legendary Fitness on Mobile Highway, has helped champion athletes like Emmett Smith and Trent Richardson. Doctors Roberts specialize in relieving auto accident pain to physicals for the student athlete. The best treatment for sports injuries is prevention. Call 912-4155 for a free consultation and change your life forever.
And welcome back, Sports Drive with you right here. It is 6:51, final segment before we send it out to the Pensacola Blue Wahoos as they're in action against the Birmingham Barons. Mobile Bay Bears, that's what I meant.
You're close. Same state.
I do know that. Let's move on from there. Looking at the Atlanta Braves, we were just talking about the shift. And, you're saying you like the shift. I mean, meaning that you like teams that are allowed to think for themselves. There should be no rule against what a team does once you're in the diamond. I mean, but at the same time, I think sometimes coaches outthink the shift. There are some guys that can hit the ball the other way that they shift on, and you see the ball just dribble right there. But I always do think it's funny that, what about the right-handed shift? Like, okay, dude, you want these big, sluggish, 270-pound first basemen to play like behind second base, have to book it over there. The ball's hit to short. He's like trying to beat out the first baseman on play. Like, it's never going to work.
Pitcher has to cover.
Yeah. I mean, you can shift a guy at second base, and they do. And so Carlos Correa hits a lot of line drives to the left side of the field, and you'll see the second baseman playing behind second base. You'll see the shortstop shifted over, and you'll see the third baseman. You'll see 3 guys on left, and then the first baseman standing his ground sort of in the middle of second and first. You'll get some guys that do that, but not very rarely. It's usually power hitting right guys. Lefties, that's when the shift comes. And it's because the first baseman, and it's pretty clear. Just want to point that out to everybody if you didn't already know.
Absolutely. And again, I'm glad that the baseball has not chosen to make some rule where you have to hold your position or stay within some framework because it's just people. The good thing now is that in spring training, the guys that are strict pull hitters now are being taught to hit the ball to the opposite field. And So, I mean, make a well-rounded baseball player out of these guys. I mean, why should, just have some strict pull hitter and then, well, we can't play our second baseman on the left side of the infield because the Major League Baseball has decided to outlaw that. Don't outlaw that. Play fair. Make these guys hit the ball to the opposite field or hit the ball through a vacated space.
Freddie Freeman's up right now. When all is said and done with the Atlanta Braves, a lot of us grew up Braves fans just because it was either that or Chicago. You had TBS or you had Harry Carey with a bad WGN team pretty much for the Cubs. Ryan Sandberg was all right, and the Hawk and Andre Dawson. But when it came down to Freddie Freeman, his numbers are there, but he's not the – will you put him in the same category when all is said and done? Do you think he will be looked at as an Atlanta Brave like Chipper Jones?
Probably not, but I tell you what, he's this year he's just hit into a double play.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
That's probably not going to help, but
conversation's over, folks.
Just jinxed him.
Yeah,
but listen, he's already got 100 RBIs this year. He's probably going to have 140 plus. Oh, he's safe. No, he's out. He's out. But probably have 100. He could be the National League MVP. I mean, the guy's just terrific, and he's a leader on the field. He plays good defense. He's a guy in the clubhouse that keeps everybody happy. If the Braves end up winning the National League this year, then he's going to be the catalyst for that.
Yeah. The only thing about the MVP is that in baseball, unlike other sports, the record isn't really the focal point. It's more about the stats. So like Christian Yelich and Cody Bellinger, if they stay at this pace, which they're just putting up freak numbers right now, and even Pete Alonso, the way he's hitting home runs. But some of the guys, those guys will more than likely win. Even if Milwaukee misses the postseason, Yelich still right now is the front runner to win the MVP. I mean, his numbers are just insane. They're better than last year, and he won the MVP. Bellinger got off to a really hot start. He's still hitting well, but it's not the same. And sometimes when you're that good with so many other good players as the Dodgers have, you lose that appeal like a Mike Trout does in L.A. every night where he's just crushing the ball and he doesn't have that competition around him. You see what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely. And, we talk the home run record, is out of reach now. I mean, this year is going to extinguish last year's record. But the horse hides now, or cowhides, whatever, it's really not a horse hide or a cowhide except on the exterior, and the rest of it's just rubber bands bound really, really tight, and they're so tight now that it's almost like a golf ball.
Oh, yeah.
Auburn's new logo, folks. Gosh.
It got
big
fatter.
time. Have you
That's
seen
all
that?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, you have no? Oh, God. Oh, wow. Oh, we got to show this.
I got you.
You got you?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's huge. I mean, you're not going to recognize what's happening here. The dynamics of this, I got it right here.
Okay.
I mean,
wow, they've really stepped out.
Incredible. They're at one
That's
point,
like
there's a little
I love
more
people
slant.
that are upset by this, yeah.
No, what in the world did they do differently?
Pay some company.
They changed the font, and basically you can see that, it's instead of being disconnected there, it's more connected now.
Okay.
Here's the deal.
About it.
Without having to say something, it's like maybe somebody way upstairs has like a daughter or granddaughter that works for a consultant firm that gets paid to change and be an artist for this and got a paycheck. That's the only theory I can think of.
Ironically, do you know
That's
the font
crazy.
that they're changing all their athletic writing to? The name of it? Saban. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Sabon. Saban.
Wow.
But that's insane that those changes were so minute. I'm sure Auburn fans, well, you know what? Auburn gets a lot of buzz. I was looking at, the best logos in football, or the best, uniforms in football. And Auburn was, up near the top with what's, a relatively mundane outfit.
It's like Susan Sarandon. You know that she's getting older, but you can't really tell. Like that they're changing the logo based on what they wrote, but I have no clue. I mean, it looks the same.
That's it. I mean, if 100 people did a Rorschach test, 99 would say it's exactly the same logo.
Yeah. I have relatives that went to Auburn. They probably couldn't tell you the difference.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
I mean, that's how close it is. It's literally just right there in between the U and the A, and it's how the old logo had the distance between them, and now
but I flipped it around.
Well,
there you go.
now that just looks like a dirty gesture.
That's I've never.
Yeah,
Hold on a second.
yeah.
I don't think we're televised on TV. I think Blau got hit by lightning tonight, so we're not. Yeah, that does look pretty dirty. But AU.
What? Sorry.
See, to me, no. After a couple cocktails, nobody's going to be able to tell any difference. I think we're sober. We're all. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what I had for lunch. but here's the deal.
I think there's less orange on there now too. Like the outline is smaller.
They use more of a seesaw now. That's all I can see. I don't know. That's.
I just don't see much difference at all. I mean, that's just insane.
They're just distracting us from Bo Nix, Joey Gateway.
Distracting us from Gus Malzahn being on the hot seat. Gus Malzahn invented this, so we can talk about the logo. Guys, have a great rest of your night. Enjoy it.
Appreciate it.
I'll see you at the bar, right? Grab you a seat.
Yeah, I'll be over there. Yeah.
All right.
I'll be there first.
That sounds good. Everybody, God bless.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoo.